Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here with a couple of vintage trumpets. Haven't done this for a while, reached back into the closet and pulled out a old special from 1960 and a Conn 12B, the Coprion some call it, from the late 30s. Going to try them out with four mouthpieces. Going to start with a very deep trumpet flugel cup, which will certainly benefit the Coprion for reasons that we'll discuss later. And then we'll go to a kind of a breathy sounding mouthpiece, and then a very standard M cup. And after that, we'll also try a lead cup. Try and, as I go, point out the benefits of each mouthpiece as it relates to the horn. Wonderful horns here from a long gone era. But going to start off now, going to play the old standard Summertime, and should have a nice, deep, dark sound with this Reeves C to J trumpet flugel piece. Okay, now we'll play that same thing. We'll play that same thing now with the Conn 12B. Okay, this is a copper bell. I believe it was electro-formed, so they spun it around and then until it achieved the shape, but it wasn't beaten out of sheet metal, to my understanding. Other than that, it appears to be totally brass. Now, they did have a 12B that had some nickel silver trim on it. It was kind of the classier version, but this bell is thick. It is a very thick copper. Probably about 4.6. I think it's a little better. It might be 4.5 inches, so certainly not the 4 3/4, 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2 that you see on some instruments. This one might have a touch of red rot. I think I see a spot somewhere through there. Never did have the piece here, the guide piece for the tuning slide. You know, you just lose some of those things in the process of time. I bought it here in Charleston. Shortly after we moved here, I found this horn. And nice player. Valves are probably a little bit leaky. I use standard Yamaha synthetic valve oil. I used to use really heavy oil, a Hetman 3, sometimes even a Hetman 4, which is a light slide oil. I found that I play better with a light fluid. If the valves leak a little bit, I play better with that. If I've got 100% compression for some reason, it just doesn't fit me all that well. We all are different there, and I'm not advocating having a trumpet that leaks. But, you know, we do what we do. But with a deep mouthpiece and this thick bell, should have been a sound that really would be appealing. Now, I'm going to use a cornet mouthpiece here with a GR adapter. But this is Mark Curry's vintage cornet. It usually gives a breathy tone for cornets, and it really gives a breathy tone, which I think with summertime, I think of Chet Baker, although he certainly isn't the only one that's played summertime on the trumpet. But, love that breathy tone. And this mouthpiece puts me in mind back of that. We'll switch back to the old special. We'll talk about that horn in just a little bit, its unusual characteristics as well. Summertime with the Curry vintage cornet mouthpiece and a GR adapter for trumpet on the old special. All right, again, that Curry vintage cup giving us a good breathy tone on the Conn 12B. One other thing about this I did mean to mention, Conn was using, I think it's like a .433 bore for this. Little easier to fill up, but I don't find people that say it chokes them off. The lead pipe and receiver are really important, and even though you've got a smaller bore through here, it's the entryway where you usually feel stuffed, if you do feel stuffed. But smallish bore, not a small sound. Now these two mouthpieces that we've used so far, the Reeve C2J, which is a trumpet flugel, very, very large cup, very much a deep V, and the Curry as well, probably lean towards the advantage sound-wise of the Conn 12B. Now, when you get to the Olds, and I've always liked this model. They made the special starting probably in the late 40s, I believe, Olds did. But then when they got around 57 or so, they revamped it. Instead of an all brass piece, they used a nickel silver bell, and it is thick nickel silver, with a bronze tip. Now in the cornet, this special with the three metal, as they call it, the bronze, nickel, silver, and of course your brass. In the cornet form, I find it delectable. I think it is one of the most beautiful mixes of metals that you can find. In fact, I've got an old special. It's probably the only horn I've had for the last 16 or 17 years that was untouchable. Just couldn't sell it. Part of that is because my son and I worked on it together, stripped the lacquer off of it. It was a horrible looking horn when we got it. 99 bucks. And it's got sentimental value, but I love this nickel silver with the bronze tip. In a cornet, it just does more for me. Usually nickel silver is going to be a very bright, strong sound, but with the bronze tip, I think that's tempered a little bit. Now we're going to use this with a GR64 medium, straight medium mouthpiece. Then we'll go to a lead piece. And this old special, probably we're getting into the territory that smiles upon it with these type mouthpieces. And that same GR64 medium mouthpiece with the Conn 12B and the thick copper bell. Tim Wendt, a great commercial trumpeter, had Canstell make a trumpet for him, copper bell. They used a thinner gauge, to my understanding, but copper does not have to mean mellow. It can be quite a versatile piece, and this really will put out the sound on any mouthpiece that you choose to use it. Personally, I find it easiest to use with its thick copper bell with a deep, darker mouthpiece, larger, deeper V with a big drill size. But it's a very adaptable piece as well. Okay, now we're going to a shallow mouthpiece. Definitely could be used for commercial, certainly could be used for lead as well. In fact, one of the shallowest mouthpieces I've ever had that I could actually use, such as I do. This is the GR63Z. And we're back with the old special. And that same piece, the 63Z GR, with the large, thick copper bell, I should say at least, of the Conn 12B. The medium bore mouthpiece is so easy to play. And this, did I mention it has a little patch here? I'm not even sure I noticed that when I found it in a store here. I probably saw that. But years ago, I was getting into vintage horns a little bit. It was in Houston, Texas. And I found an Olds Super. And looked it over real closely. It had 2 patches. The price was right, but one of them was right down here, if I remember correctly, where a lot of people wind up putting their hand and it just rests against it. The other one seems like it was some unusual position on the bottom of the 3rd slide or something like that. It bothered me so much I sold that horn, and that was far and away the best playing Olds Super that I had. I think I've had 4 or 5 of them now. That was the first one. Lightest bell, clearest sound, very, very fine trumpet. But patches are not always illustrating that the horn is ready for the boneyard. Sometimes they're just illustrating the fact it's a very nice playing horn and someone really enjoyed their mileage out of it. So patches, while they can be a bit of a bummer, they can also be a sign that that horn was played because it was a player. Enjoy chatting with you folks. Love the comments. Appreciate the thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, we seem to have an unending number of horns that pass through our grubby little paws, so to speak. Do take care of yourselves and someone near you.